work with me, you follow the rules. Rule number 1, you give me everything you've got. Rule number 2, then you give me more. And rule number 3, I make the rules.
Hello, Hayden Barton for the Batman Tradition, back with somewhat of a, well, I want to say exciting video, but depending on my opinion of this subject, maybe it's not as exciting as, well, it's exciting to see content, but maybe it's not as exciting as I would like to be for what the content was supposed to be, right? And this comes into the topic of Batman announcements, particularly in live action. Now, when you think live action, you think of live action, real people, Ben Affleck, Val Kilmer, Christian Bale, George Clooney, all the people that are real who have had a live action debut first look through them in real life. See, but everybody who probably keeps up with DC news, particularly DCU news, in the last week or so knows that we got our first look at the DCU James Gunn Batman. And the funny thing is that even though we got a look at him, we don't know who's playing him. And that is because they, for whatever the powers may be, whatever creative choice, whatever business strategies or business sort of setbacks they may have, our first look is through animation. Now, I have no problem with animation whatsoever. Sometimes in this conversation I've had with people, it tends to kind of go towards almost sounding like I'm arguing or against animation. Not at all. The best, probably a lot of the best Batman stories, DC stories, have been told through the animated movies. So that is not my problem whatsoever. Mask of the Phantasm, of course, right? My problem is with this. I'll say, to be honest, I'll be upfront. I'm not particularly a fan of the way the DCU is headed. The creative decisions, kind of the style, and I'd say tone I feel like they're going towards isn't particularly my favorite. I think it's going towards a little bit more lighter, a little bit kid-friendly, a little bit softer than what I'd like, but, you know, to each their own, right? I'm just keeping it fair, right? Everyone has a different opinion on this. But I still think, even though I admit I'm not a fan, really, of James Gunn's work in the DCU, what harkens back to the Batman Brave and the Bold, which this animation reveal will be that Batman in that by Andy Muschietti, right? And say what you want about the Flash film, I did really like what they did with Batman, particularly the action scenes and the fighting scenes. I think it added a little bit of that fantasy element to Batman we haven't seen, and a lot of fans are kind of really hoping for. They've been waiting for that one that you see in the Arkham games or the cartoons. You can go up against gods or supervillains that have powers, and this sense of kind of mythical, you know, man against the gods type of thing that we really love about Batman. And I think The Flash did a pretty good job with that. So Andy Muschietti, if he still ends up being involved in the Batman Brave and the Bold, I'm kind of open to see how that turns out. And I'm, of course, open to see who gets cast as Batman. But I will say, in my opinion, I don't particularly like the direction of, it feels like to me, announcing or showcasing these little cameos for Batman in this animation quick glimpse, I don't think really is the best strategy to do it, right? When you have the announcement of a character that's bigger than life like Batman or James Bond, it really has to be an event, in my opinion. It has to be, spectacle, this huge event that really makes it to where, like, wow, this is who's going to carry on this character for years, potentially, right? And if you look back to how a lot of them were revealed through whether it was a picture first look, a video, I feel like in the past, most of that has captured it. Take a look at, say, Ben Affleck's photo that Snyder took for his first reveal with the Batmobile. or the awesome video Matt Reeves posted of Pattinson just through the test footage of putting on the outfit, which he then added the theme onto it, you know, to kind of sense you just get a better sense of that special nature of a new introduction to the character. Now, when I watched that clip of Creature Commandos, I gotta say, it's hard to never be excited when you see a little glimpse of Batman and seeing him in the shadows with a lightning strike, harkening back to, you know, the Dark Knight Returns and that iconic pose. I'm not saying you don't get excited about that, but I don't feel like it was necessarily... I felt like it was just giving us something to give us something. And I particularly would have waited to where you could make it really special and do it live action with the actor. Or a full face in costume reveal, because they've even admitted they're not even far along enough to know what the suit's going to look like. So that's why it's shadowed up. It was revealed, but then they, you know, James Gunn apparently said he's not ready for that, so cover it all up. And I think if it's really still that early on, just wait. Give it to us. Show us it when you're ready, and it can be special. Because even right now, it seems a little divisive on people liking it or not liking it, and it's not really a clear indicator of what we will get in live action, right? But overall, you know, I just wanted to share my little thoughts on it. It's not anything against animation. I love animation. Most of the Batman content people absorb is through animation, other than some like the live action films, but there's way more animation than live action films, correct? So I guess it's just hard to, because we're in a weird spot as Batman fans, right? We have another Batman Part 2 delay. Pattinson is a live action Batman that is awesome, and I love him. And I really, you know, hope whatever's going on with that gets resolved, whether it's a business or personal issue. And I think right now, DC is still in this, hey, we're giving out breadcrumbs, but we're not really too sure of what's going to work out, if anything's going to work out, or still kind of playing the field, not too confident in what they're doing. And I just didn't feel like, particularly because, you know, James Gunn is famous for his music, his comedy, and I just didn't find that the first... Like I said, I want it to be a spectacle. I want it to be really meaningful. And I don't feel like showing our first glimpse of Batman in I'm going to say a little bit of a comedy scene with the character kind of dancing and a big hat with feathers and a fur coat, doing it with music. Basically, Batman being introduced kind of at the end of a musical number like that. I just didn't like it. It just didn't feel to fit the tone, and I just want it to be a little bit more serious, I guess I should say. But quick video. Those are my thoughts. I mean, we're going to get more Batman content soon, so maybe there'll be more reactions. Maybe it'll be better. I don't know. This has been Hayden Barton for the Batman Tradition. Take care.